Hi guys, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So in today's midweek mystery, I'm looking at not a particular case or one particular case, but I'm looking at more of a phenomenon which I have always been interested in because, as I did mention in my first ever midweek mystery video, I am a psychology sociology graduate and I did train to be a psychology teacher, was a psychology teacher for many years and a sociology teacher, head of department of both subjects. So I've taught around psychology and sociology for many years. And so there are things that I teach that I'm so intrigued about, and I just thought I would talk about mass hysteria. Now, I haven't necessarily focused my teaching on mass hysteria, but I have come across it in my own personal reading. And I really wanted to talk about this today because there is loads of cases of mass hysteria out there. But I wanted to get your views on it and what you think about these particular cases, because some of them can be a bit questionable, but I really wanted to get your thoughts on it. So yeah, let's just explore this concept of mass hysteria, what it is, and look at some cases around it and maybe discuss down below what we think may have been the cause of some of these behaviours. Okay, so if you don't know what mass hysteria is, I'll quickly read off to you a definition. So in psychology and sociology, it's a term that's used to describe a phenomenon that transmits collective illusions of threats, whether real or imaginary, as a result of rumours and fear. If you want to put that in simpler terms, it's basically when a group of people start to demonstrate a particular behaviour, so the same behaviour, you could say maybe manic behaviours, regardless of whether there is a real threat or an imagined threat. So they're showing the same behaviour regardless of whether you can actually see what they're responding to or not. And I guess it will make more sense when we start to look at the particular cases that I've chosen. I've chosen 3 cases to illustrate mass hysteria today. Now, mass hysteria can be called many things. You can call it collective hysteria, you can call it group hysteria, you could call it collective obsessional behaviour, but ultimately it is when a group of people, and that's the important thing, a group of people are experiencing the same behaviours towards something. Let's take a look at some of these behaviours that I've noted, some of the cases that I've noted, but bear in mind I'll list some other cases at the end of the video, but bear in mind there are many cases of mass hysteria, but I just really wanted to just touch on 3 today because this video would be so long if I went through all of them. And yeah, let's discuss down below what we think about each of these cases. So the first case that I really want to talk about is probably one of the more popular cases out there, and it's the laughing plague case. This is a very strange case. In fact, they're all strange cases, so I don't really need to say that all the time, but this one in particular is. And this actually occurred in Kashasha, I believe I said that right, in Tanzania, Africa in 1962. And it took place initially in a boarding school for girls. And basically what happened was that the girls in this school became overcome by this mass hysteria, and for them it was in the form of laughing. So what happened was 3 girls started to laugh hysterically one day, unexplained, no reason behind why they're laughing, but they just started laughing hysterically and uncontrollably as well. And this laughter soon spread from those 3 girls to many other girls in the school, until much of the school was basically overcome by hysteria, this laughing. And for these girls, they would laugh either for hours non-stop, or for some of them they'd be laughing for days non-stop. Now this hysteria, this laughter didn't necessarily stop in the schools. Eventually it soon started to spread to their communities, to their villages, and to other schools.
I came over to see what was going on. Children started laughing. They're just laughing. It is a crazy laughing, jumping all over the place. All of a sudden, there was an epidemic. Laughing disease, Kashasha here.
At one point, there were over 1,000 young people that would succumb to this laughing hysterically. Now, the symptoms were not just laughter. This is where it becomes not just a baffling case, but quite serious, because the symptoms also began to be pain, like the girls would experience pain, the girls would experience fainting, respiratory problems as well, rashes as well would develop on their skin, and also some of them would have fits of crying as well. And because of this, what was happening, it forced the schools to close. After 18 months of it all just suddenly occurring, it suddenly just stopped. No reason, no warning that it was going to stop, it just stopped. Despite tests being done to kind of work out what the cause was. No clear medical reason has been given as to why this happened.
The blood samples went to Europe to find out if there was a virus. You know, they thought about differential diagnosis. There was we say NAD, nothing abnormal detected.
And it has become known as the I have to read this off, the Tanganyika Laughter Epidemic, and no one knows why it started or the reason behind it all. So let me know what you think down below. What do you think caused this? I mean, do you think there could be other reasons behind this? This next case that I'm going to describe kind of in a way reminds me of that phenomenon, or you know, biological response, where if one person yawns, you also start to feel like yawning. Oh my gosh, I've just said yawning and I want to yawn right now. I'm not even like... Let's take a look at this particular case. And so this one is the phantom pregnancy panic. Now, this is an extremely rare form of mass hysteria, but this actually affected some patients of a London psychiatric ward in the early 70s. Now, a 17-year-old girl that was admitted into this psychiatric ward, her name was Louise, told her fellow patients that she believed she was expecting a baby. We need to know that this was false information. She wasn't pregnant, she wasn't expecting a baby. Now, Louise was admitted into hospital because of her attention-seeking behavior and the fact that she lived a very promiscuous lifestyle. So she was quite, you know, out there. And her condition seemed to worsen when her best friend found out that she was pregnant, but then ultimately passed away after childbirth. So this really impacted on Louise. Experts concluded that the traumatic experience of witnessing her friend, you know, be pregnant and give birth and then pass away, that experience had a really negative impact on Louise herself, and it led to Louise kind of developing a phantom pregnancy for herself and the symptoms surrounding phantom pregnancy. This could have developed because Louise either may have felt a fear of becoming pregnant, like her friend became pregnant, through unprotected sex, because remember, she was promiscuous, so she may have developed this fear of becoming pregnant, then possibly dying like her friend. Or it might have been that she identified with her deceased friend, her best friend. Then she then took on that she herself was pregnant. Now, regardless of what the reason was behind her thinking that she was pregnant and her developing this phantom pregnancy symptoms, her convincing personality towards the other patients in the hospital was enough to trigger a pregnancy panic amongst the patients. So a few days after she revealed her pregnancy to the other female patients, many of the female patients in the ward also started to come forward to say that they themselves thought that they were pregnant. And the funny thing about this is that somebody also came forward to say they were pregnant even though they had no history of sexual activity. Now, these women were coming forward because they too were fearful, they were scared that they were pregnant, and it caused a massive commotion. Now, it was only through the experts' constant reassurance to these females that they weren't pregnant, they aren't pregnant, they didn't lose a baby, they're just not pregnant at all, that things started to calm down. So again, a very, very odd case of mass hysteria happening from one person saying that they believe that they were pregnant and causing others to also believe that they too are showing the same symptoms. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about is the toxic lady. I think you may have heard of this one before. I remember hearing about it, reading about it on was it on the news or something? I can't remember, but I remember reading about it a while ago. But this happened in 1994, and it happened in a hospital, and several medical staff that were treating a woman called Gloria, I think her name is Ramirez, who was suffering from cervical cancer, began to faint and collapse. So these medical staff treating this woman began to faint and collapse. Now, of course, rumors spread and reports spread across the hospital that the ill woman was actually toxic and that she was giving off poisonous fumes or spreading a disease which was causing the medical staff to react in this way. Now, soon more nurses began to also apparently suffer from the effects that the medical staff had been suffering, and anybody that encountered Gloria was immediately isolated. Now, the strangest thing was that the health department investigated these cases and they actually concluded that none of the medical staff had anything wrong with them and they had simply suffered from a mass delusion. So again, we see how one report or one behaviour has triggered a fear in others based on a rumour, and it's triggered a fear in others and everybody else is seemed to kind of respond in that same way. Those are the 3 cases I wanted to talk about, but what do you think about these cases and mass hysteria in general? Now, there are many cases out there. I'm going to list some of the cases. You can research them for yourself, but there are many cases. So, for example, one of them I saw was the Bin Laden rash, where people started developing a rash, like children started developing the same rash. The Coca-Cola epidemic, it was like people started becoming ill after drinking Coca-Cola. I think, was it in Belgium or somewhere? Again, very interesting. Meowing nuns. So yes, these nuns started to meow and yeah, make cat sounds, and I think back in that time when this was happening, cats were linked to like the devil or something like that, and these nuns started just meowing. Dancing plague as well as one. This twitching leg syndrome, that's another one. Monkey man in Delhi, people actually started saying they saw monkey man. So no longer is it just a behavioural characteristic now. Mass hysteria is also where people are imagining seeing the same thing, the same person. The Salem witch trials, quite a famous one regarding mass hysteria, where people believed that that things were happening because the community, like there were loads of witches around. Like the face scratcher as well is another one where people end up with like scratches along their face. Some say that they just did it themselves, some say that somebody else, something else has done that to them. There are so many of these cases out there, so yeah, let me know what you think about each of those cases down below, and if you have read or researched any of those that I've just mentioned. Of course, mass hysteria is a phenomenon that we are using to explain these unexplainable occurrences, but I really want to know, like, how is it, how does that work? How does one person or a small group of people impact so many people to, you know, demonstrate these behaviors or to believe this thing or to see the same thing that isn't possibly there? Are each of these cases just a product of their own maybe socio-cultural pressures? Are they cases that just fit the cultural environment in which they're being told? Is it just fitting into that time and people are just kind of taking on these urban legends and just making them real? I mean, is there a way for us to, you know, explain these sudden occurrences in a way that fits with our own realm of logic? But either way, it's clear that the human nature, the human mind is such a complex thing, and there's just so much we need to explore from that, and it's actually a powerful tool, and just human behavior itself is such a complex, powerful thing as well. And I don't know, I don't have answers. I'm just literally going through what I've found, what I've read, and it just baffles me, some of them. But I'm probably more likely to lean towards the mass hysteria explanation for these cases. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. It's a bit more light-hearted than some of the other midweek mysteries that I have done. I am still researching some cases for, you know, solved cases, missing person cases, etc. So every now and then you'll just see me bring out some other types of content in this series. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts down below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did, and also subscribe to my channel because I would love you to be part of our little family here. Thanks guys, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Take care. Bye.